All right. Well, welcome to the Curious Community Podcast.
Thank you, Carrie.
Michelle Pierce.
Yes.
Owner and operator of my two favorite bookstores, one of which I have to go to and I've only dreamt about. The other one I go to all the time. Lido Village Books in Lido, a part of Newport, right? Which in the Village area, which is amazing. Malibu Village Books up in Malibu, and it's right across from the Malibu Country Mart in Malibu Village.
Correct.
Where Marmalade Cafe and Wells Fargo is.
Yes.
So you are
right around the corner from Wells Fargo.
Okay.
Next to the third space or the Boys and Girls Club.
So awesome.
Yeah, we literally, when you're going down PCH and you get stopped at that stoplight.
Yeah.
You turn right, you'll see us.
Oh, that's perfect, because I want to come up there.
Yes.
You've had a lot of really great author events up there.
We did.
You had Paulina Poroskova, which I was like, oh, I love her. I wish I had gone.
Oh, she was really amazing and very personable and super fun. She talked to everybody. So even after, during the book signing, she would sit there for
chatting with people.
Yeah. I was like, hello,
I gotta move the line.
2 minutes.
Is that? Well, we'll get into it, but I'm just I'm just going to talk about it now. Is it like a celebrity-driven environment up in Malibu? Are there going to be more book signings? You have them here at Lido. You have authors come in, which I think is so great, and do talks. But is that more of a celebrities want to have their book kind of promoted, so they're coming to you for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it's also Malibu hasn't had a bookstore in 15 years.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah. So they haven't had a bookstore.
Is that what we call a book desert then? That seems like, a
culture desert.
Yeah, culture desert, basically. No man's land.
Right.
That's wild.
Yeah, well, I guess they didn't have one for 15 years, and then I opened Malibu Village in November of 2022.
Yes.
Officially with the signage and all the business license.
Yeah.
March of 2023.
Wow.
So it's still telling people also that, hey, we're here because.
Do you feel like people have been starving there for a bookstore though? At the same token, they're still discovering you, but they've also when they come in, are they thank God you're here?
Yeah, they're very excited. They're very excited.
Is the vibe similar to Lido Village Books?
It's not.
Okay, so what's the vibe up there? Ish.
I know, right?
Is it bigger? Is it the same size?
No, it's actually just a hair smaller.
Okay.
I think Lido is something like 890 or 900 square feet, and Malibu's is 775 square feet.
Okay.
So they are still small.
So the merchandising's different?
A little different.
Okay.
There's going to be similariries. But
do you still have a good a good kids section and stuff like that up there?
Yes, but we sell more up there just fiction, and nonfiction.
So the market's different.
The market's different. And then the New York Times.
Yes.
We do a lot more award winners sell both places.
Okay.
Because we follow the award winners throughout the season, which is very fun.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Yes. Right. Right now we're on the Booker long list. It just came out.
Yes. Okay.
Right? So they're still trying to get them published in the U.S. So once they get more of them published in the U.S., then we have that
is
display.
the Booker long list, is that kind of, because I know when I've ordered books from the list, they're not always is it a European list or a global list, or because I find some of them seem they're more arcane, or they're a little more I don't know about them, they haven't been popularized here for the most part.
So the lists are all different. So an international Booker it has to be published within the there's dates within the past year.
The Academy Awards has to come out between blah blah. Okay.
The international Booker has to be translated from a different space, but translated in the U.S. or U.K. market.
Okay.
So most of those authors will come, it could be Africa or China or
interesting. Okay.
New Zealand, or it can't have originally been published in
the U.S.
the UK, U.S. market.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's translated in.
So is the goal of that? I know you're not in charge of the organization, but as a layperson, would you say the goal is to lift up authors from other cultures and into bigger book markets? Is that part of?
I think it's.
It seems like it would do that,
right? And to just get the different voices
heard.
Out there, heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
the Booker right now on the long list, I believe it's UK and US.
Okay.
it has to be published within the UK
Okay.
or the US within that year.
Got it. Okay.
And they diversify all the different authors that
Yeah.
they choose. It's a long panel. They read
That's so
probably
rad.
hundreds of books. Yeah, it's fun.
Have you ever, would you ever get invited to read on a Booker panel?
Well, I doubt it, but it would be really fun.
Well, because I know local journalists here that have gotten invited to Judge James Beard. So I'm just saying, could it be out there for you someday?
We will put it out there
I'm going to put it out there right now. I would like you to be part of that. And it could be an even longer list because you'd be involved and you could probably get a lot of reading done. So, they should talk to you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I have to start at the very beginning. And I know you said it wasn't going to be that exciting of a story, but I don't really care because we're here just to talk about cool things, which are books. So it's up to books to be exciting, not us.
Well, that is true.
So I know for me that books growing up were like such a huge part of my life. And it was like really such a comfort to me. I think growing up as an only child, having to entertain myself a lot. And like going through hard stuff that all kids go through, some hard stuff that other kids don't have to go through, maybe, or lesser kids. It's not like a lot of the normal experience. But I remember books being like a real solace for me and like a real safe place and also like an escape. And so I've just always been a huge reader. And I always was that girl that went to the library and like, when it was like the summer reading program, I wanted to finish it like really fast and get all my prizes. But then, of course, it didn't matter because I was still going to read just as much the rest of the summer.
Right.
So I wanted to find out for you, like, did books have a place for you from a young age? Did you discover them later? Like, where did books fit into your, like, young life?
For me, books were always something that was a part of my life. I remember being quite young, and like my pops, he would read to us every single night.
Oh, I love it. Is this your grandfather?
No, my father.
Okay, call him Pops. I don't know, because some people call their grandfather Pops. So your dad would read to you?
Yeah, so he would read to all of us every night. And he read from the classics. And he always claims that his favorite story, one of his favorite stories he ever read, was from Little House in the Big Woods.
I love those books. I have those.
And then he says the hardest book to read out loud is Mark Twain, because of the dialect.
Yes, I remember talking to one of my teachers when reading Huck Finn, and I kept thinking it was chili, but it was child. Like, what's wrong, child? And I'm like, why are they saying chili?
Oh.
Like, it's not a country. It's like I was thinking they was calling like Huck, like chili. I'm like, that's an interesting nickname. Yeah, so the dialect is tough.
Yes, it's hard. It's hard. And then we started reading, and then it was just something that was always there.
Was your dad a big reader, or did he just think he needed to read you to be a good dad? You know what I mean? Was he doing it to be a good father?
I think he was doing it to be a good father, because I grew up always thinking he was a like huge reader.
Yeah.
And
he's
not. Come to find out, he's like, I may finish two books a year. Like,
that says something really beautiful about him, that he would do that for your benefit.
Right.
My grandfather, my dad's side, grand-père, because he was French, he read me from Horatio Alger books, like from a young age, and it was like, the rags to riches stories. And those were kind of his Bible, I think, because he was blue collar, so he really liked that, like the messaging. And I remember his voice was so like resonant, and I just was like, I loved to be read to. So I love that your dad did that for you.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
It was fun. And then I just kept going.
Yeah, because you're like, okay, you got me started.
Yeah, and so it was always something. And I remember being in school, and they'd be like, okay, like you, where the
contest.
The contest. They'd be like, cool, you have to read 1,000 pages this year.
You're like, easy, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, and then by the end of the year, I was at probably 40,000, not really, but probably like 10,000, right?
So you're like, I don't need you to incentivize me, but I do want the prizes.
I don't
if we
think
get prizes.
It was about the prizes.
It was like a requirement.
It was just the requirement. I was like, I can surpass
You're
this.
like, check that box.
I can do better.
Well, and so interesting too, because I'm much older than you. So like I grew up like Judy Blume was like, when I was in like 4th grade was like a big deal. And I don't know, like, were there certain books growing up aside from the ones that your dad read you, or maybe those, but that like really resonated with you? Like I just loved Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary. Growing up, did you have Babysitter's Club probably?
Yes,
yeah.
I had the Babysitter's Club. There's a book and I try only every now and then does it get kind of reprinted.
Okay.
But Julie Andrews, Mandy.
Ooh, okay. Is it bad that I didn't even know she was an author? That's crazy.
Oh, well, she does still write children's books.
Okay, but this was a YA, young adult?
This was a middle juvenile.
Okay.
And it kind of rivaled a Matilda.
I feel like I'm middle juvenile sometimes when I'm fighting with my husband. I'm like middle juvenile. But is that younger than YA?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So middle juvenile would be, we get a lot of, at Lido, a lot of high-level readers.
Yes.
So we can get 6 or 7 high levels. They'll be middle juvenile, but technically middle juvenile.
And maybe the content.
8
right.
To 11, 12.
Okay. So Mandy, what was it about?
If I remember correctly, it's about a girl who lives in an orphanage, and she doesn't really get along with anybody, or just is more introverted. So she climbs the wall and finds a little cottage, and she spends the whole summer fixing up the cottage, and she befriends all the animals.
What? And this sounds amazing.
It is. And then there's one day where there's a massive storm, and she gets stuck because she's ill. She gets stuck inside this little house that she rejuvenated, and eventually somebody comes to find her, and she gets adopted. And it was so sweet. It was one of my
So if like a parent of a middle juvenile reader could find that today, it sounds like a great book.
It is. It's a fun one.
Oh my gosh.
It's very, I don't know, maybe it has like an essence or a quality of, say, like a Little Princess or Secret Garden.
Yes,
right?
which I loved both.
But still like the Matilda where somebody adopts and she's wanting somebody different.
I love that.
Yeah. It's
my gosh, that's so great.
Yeah.
And then when you went to school, like high school beyond, did you are you a writer too? Like, are you more of a reader? Like, do you like to write? Because sometimes it goes hand in hand, sometimes it does not.
When I was younger, I wrote a lot, and I was published a couple times in like the anthologies.
Oh, that's
the
so cool! Poetry, or were you doing
Poetry.
short story? Okay, I love it.
Yeah. And then, I actually took a turn because, at the age of 2, I was actually my mom put me into dance, and so I was also a dancer.
Okay, like Little Miss Sunshine, like tap dancing. What were you doing? Ballet?
I got into musical theater and ballet.
Oh, that's
I was more
cool.
ballet, jazz, musical theater. Went to all the competitions and such, competed.
Was it awesome? It sounds awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's a childhood. You're doing a lot of dancing.
Did your mom make you do it, or did you want to do it?
I think eventually it was one of those where I did it, and then I was like, oh no, I really
love
want to
it.
do it. Yeah.
Okay, so she was right, but at the beginning it felt like maybe I don't know what I'm doing here.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I took a turn, and I got more into when I got into musical theater, and I did more reading of plays and scripts, and still reading, of course, all the time. But
did you ever write anything, like a play or anything?
Yeah, I took a lot of playwriting classes, and in high school and university. My first university was a BA at UCI in drama.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So you act also?
Well, I used to, yes.
But must come in handy sometimes in customer service, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does. So, children's story time.
Yeah, right? Bring it to life. Okay, so that's so cool. So acting, and then...
It still is very... the point of it was it's very heavy reading, right? Because you're constantly reading, and it's still very character-driven. So you're reading these plays, and you're deconstructing them and deconstructing
motivation and
characters,
where the story's going.
Yeah, and then you're performing and all these things. A lot of script analysis, I guess.
That's so cool.
And so I sort of stepped away from writing. I haven't really picked it back up in a while. But I think someday. I think, when I'm 65.
I know.
I've decided I may go and buy a farm in Ireland.
Oh my God, this sounds great. Can I come?
Absolutely.
Wait, I'm going to be 85, but that's fine.
Okay.
I can come.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to be knock on wood. I'll still be super healthy.
Oh, yes.
And I love Ireland.
Oh, I've never been. I've just decided I would.
You're going to get a farm there. Well, you're going to have to go just buy it sight unseen, because Ireland is amazing. The people are so friendly, and it's gorgeous. That's where you'll write whatever you're going to write.
Because it's going to be so peaceful.
Yeah, and it's going to come to you.
Yeah, I'll be stuck inside with the fire.
And also, you have a lot of reading to do for the Booker list, so you're going to be doing that. Yes. So you'll have that, and then when you're not doing that and tending to the animals and the land, you will also write something else, like your magnum opus, whatever it is. We don't know.
We have no idea.
I mean, okay, so BA or BFA in acting.
A BA.
Okay, and then
it's very important.
Okay, sorry. And then did you study more? Were you done at that point? I mean, I was done after my BA. Like I was done with school. I didn't want to do any more. But maybe, did you do any more studying?
I did. I also have a BS from Oregon State University in anthropology and environmental science.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so armed with like being, like a anthropologist, environmentalist, actress who likes to read, then was the idea of having a bookstore in your mind at that point, or was it not a thing?
Well, it wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
Not.
It wasn't a bucket list thing that I'm on.
It was. As a child. I have a younger sister. I have a younger sister, and we used to do all fun things. We make our own magazines.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh, I did too.
Mailboxes, and we would make a magazine and ship it to her.
Oh my gosh,
which was next
I love
door
it.
in her little mailbox and. So, and there was always, as children in the 80s and 90s, you don't have the computers.
No, exactly. So you're like, we got to make up stuff.
And teacher and, all
was
these
Bookstore
things.
One of those games?
Bookstore was a game.
I can't wait to see how it really measured up to the actual bookstore ownership. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
We used to do lots of fun different projects. So it was actually always, and it was one of those things, too, where my mom would always be like, well, I can't really go and ground Michelle because she'll have so much fun.
She's so happy. We have to send her outside.
Funny. I was always, if I wasn't at dance class or if I wasn't at school, it was always somewhere reading.
I love it.
We moved every 9 months as a child. And I remember one of my favorite places I lived I liked this place because in Plano, Texas, because we lived literally a block from the library. And it was at an age, I might have been 6 or 7 or something around that time. And we would go every 3 days.
To get books.
And we could get 15 books. We'd bring it back and we read them and we walk. And then it got to the point where my mom was like, I can see you. You just go.
You just go. I mean, wasn't that the best feeling to get all those books?
Yes.
The world seemed limitless with all those books.
And going back to you and be like, okay, with Judy Blume and I forget your other
Beverly
author,
Cleary.
Beverly Cleary. It was one of those things too. Again, moving every 9 months, you get really good at just being in a space.
Yes.
For 9 months. Right. So
maybe you're not going to put the tentacles out so far because you're just going to have to bring them all the way back in.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're like, cool. I may make a friend or two, but it's.
But I'm not going to invest that much in that.
But I can invest in these books and these stories and the worlds and the lives that they're living in.
Yes.
And so. It became it was more exciting, I guess, also than real life.
Believe me, I spend a lot of time reading, especially when things are hard. I just want to dive into a book, and I don't want to read any self-help at that moment or some nonfiction thing. I want to dive into.
I want to see other people's perspectives, and I might even argue that the amount of reading I did is what took me into acting and theater because it's so much fun to dive into these people's worlds.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Their perspective, because their perspective at times can be so much more interesting than
and so you can kind of get into their skin and almost live as them, not in a creepy way, but in a inhabiting way where it helps the craft. Right. But also kind of some escapism.
Yeah, sure.
Which sounds great.
Yes.
And I know that, and I don't know if you want to talk about anything between now and then, but I know that you ended up in Alaska at some point.
Yes. So it was always an idea or a desire of mine.
Out there.
Yeah, of course.
The way we're putting the Booker long list judging out. Kind of like that, right? That would be cool.
It's more of I'm going to go be this famous person and then maybe I'll have a bookstore.
Yeah. Okay. I like that too.
It's kind of being I'll be a princess and then be a...
and have a cottage and get adopted and talk to the animals. Yeah.
So it was, it's in the fantastical childness of I could do all these things. It was always an idea of how fun would it be?
Yes.
Kind of how fun would it be to have a tea room?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Right?
Or for me to live in the UK and have a cottage in the Cotswolds.
Oh yeah.
And have an instant friend group that is waiting for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just go down for tea or go to the pub. Yeah.
But you don't have to work and you can just sort of enjoy
it's like a vacation.
Yeah,
yes, exactly. I love it. I'm so on the same page with you. So that's a dream I can get behind.
It was always like, okay, someday
Out
this
there.
would be fun.
Okay.
Whether it happens or not, I'm not sure.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
But it could be fun.
Yeah.
And then yes, I ended up in Alaska.
And it's not
from
like
New York.
Do you watch the show Alone at all, where they're like by themselves and survivalists?
No.
Okay.
I
I mean, they're
I'm not very good at television.
perfect. Don't. Because your brain's still working really well. But all I'm saying is, like, every time I see Alaska, it's like this kind of like, because I only see it in this kind of space where people are trying to survive in very remote locations with all their, like, you know, their bushcraft skills. Like, they're not going to give them food and stuff. I know Alaska's not like that everywhere. No. Okay. So you went from New York, like Manhattan,
Correct.
to Alaska,
Yes.
to like a city in Alaska?
No, I lived in Skagway, which is...
I feel like I took a cruise when I was 9 with my grandmother, and that sounds familiar.
It is. It's the uppermost part of the Lynn Canal, which is in southeast Alaska.
Okay.
And it is a stop on a cruise line. So they are huge tourism town.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell me, like, if you were following someone that you now hate or something like that. But so you ended up in Alaska. Were you, like, freaking out that you're ending up Alaska? Or were you like, this is a great adventure?
Oh, well, I got a job performing.
Oh.
So I was performing in New York.
Okay.
And
Like Broadway, off-Broadway type stuff? Or, I don't know, plays?
Yeah, just
musicals?
plays. Yeah,
Okay.
off Broadway, like just throughout Manhattan. Nothing huge.
Okay.
Nothing huge.
Okay.
Off in New Jersey, just throughout, right?
Okay.
And but auditioning a lot, also working a lot.
Yes.
I think I had 4 jobs when I was living there.
That's what it sounds like, at least in the fiction that I read, that everyone has to go through this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starving artist.
Yeah,
thing.
you work a lot of jobs to make
Just
pay
to pay
rent.
for the like little rat hole that you have to live
Yes,
in. Yeah,
the
it's just,
closet.
oh my gosh. Okay.
And I actually auditioned and got a job performing for a theater in Skagway, for a tourist theater. And probably many people who've heard this are like, oh my God, yes, I know that, or I did that, or whatever.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And because it's just because Skagway is known for the gold rush.
Okay.
Because you had 2 trails that went, and like Jack London
Okay.
actually hiked
Yes.
the White Pass Trail.
So you're either going to go to California or going to go to Alaska? Is that the Gold Rush trails?
Different gold rush.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There was more than one Gold Rush?
Yeah, there was a few.
Damn. Okay. 4th grade. I love my teacher, but she didn't cover that, and it's a problem.
The Alaska Gold Rush of 1898.
Thank you. So
after
later than the
silver-
1848
yeah.
and 49ers and
Yeah.
Okay.
That was different.
Okay.
So this was a different one. You'd have to get from Seattle to Skagway, basically, to cross the mountains to get into the mainland where the gold was up in the mainland.
Okay.
And Whitehorse and in the Yukon.
I've heard of Whitehorse.
Yukon, and then it went to the mainland, and there was several in a span
Okay.
of some years up there.
So
gold
Skagway
rushes.
became a place for that. I mean, it was like a
Correct.
You go through.
Yes. And so there's a show that sort of depicts the fun vaudeville.
It's always
and it's
on
historical.
the show, never
Yeah.
stops.
Every summer.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's really a cute
so
show.
you were in that.
Yes. So I went up there because I was like, sometimes for me, New York was one of the loneliest places I've ever lived.
I can imagine why.
And so after I lived there for 5 years, and I was just like, something needs to change.
Yes.
I need an adventure, right?
Okay.
You work so much, you're auditioning. It's
Yeah.
not always positive.
No, I've heard it's mostly not positive.
Yeah, so it gets a little hard. And I was like, I just need a grand adventure. And so I actually looked at Alaska as like, okay, I'm going to do this. We'll see what happens.
This is the time to do it.
They're
Like,
gonna
you don't
pay
have
me
any
money.
ties. Yeah.
Right. They're going to pay me money to go and perform, and I get a vacation.
So you were just going for
What?
the summer.
Yes.
Initially.
Just for the summer, yeah.
Did you stay longer than that?
I say 10 years.
So were you for a while? Were you like every summer in that troupe?
No, I just performed for one summer, and then
Okay.
I was like, cool, life is about to change.
Like you knew it.
I knew it, yeah. Alaska was one of the most beautiful places I've ever lived. It's one of the most stunning communities I've ever lived.
Wow.
Because it is a small community. There's something like 400, or 800 in the wintertime, year-rounders, and then it blooms to several thousand in the summertime.
Okay.
So you really get, the Skagway itself is only a mile long.
Wow.
It's,
is it just
avenues,
like a main, three main streets?
3 avenues wide, and it has mountains that literally come from the ocean straight up.
Whoa.
It's this beautiful valley. And the community there is, I've never felt so loved.
Yes.
Right?
I love that.
Because they really, it takes a moment for them to be like, cool, you're going to stick around.
Right.
Cool,
like you're not
I'll
just coming for
invest.
summer stock
Right.
or whatever,
Yeah. And so I did the first summer, and then I was gone a winter, and then I was like, okay, this life that I've been living is no longer
not tenable.
Yeah, not something I want to do anymore.
Right.
And so I essentially went back. I found another job the following summer and started staying the winters.
Oh my gosh.
And so I stayed 10 years.
What was the first winter? Was it like gnarly? I mean,
it was. The house I rented didn't really have, you can have wood heat and you have...
what are my choices? Coal?
No coal. You have oil.
Okay.
But you have to pay, and it's expensive for the oil.
Okay.
And so I guess I was renting from people who didn't really pay all the oil.
Oh my gosh.
They had a couple cords, but by the time, I think I left in like September, came back in November, and then spent the rest of the winter. And they had already gone through the cord of wood. And so you're sitting, it was very cold house in the winter. And so you wake up underneath blankets, and you put all your bundles on, and then you try to go outside to walk about and warm up.
Get your blood moving.
Get some blood going.
Oh my
and then you spend several moments or hours in front of the little Toyo heater in the kitchen. Are you
serious? And just trying to stay warm?
Just, staying warm, and then be like, cool. It's 3:00 in the evening or the afternoon,
right.
And it's dark. I think I'm gonna go lay in bed.
I mean, what else are you gonna do? Yeah, I mean, listen, doesn't sound all bad.
No, lots of books reading. Well, I started university again, so that's when I got my second university degree. So,
oh my gosh.
And so I was doing a lot of studying, and I was like, that's a perfect time to go.
Was it hard to find a job up in Skagway if you weren't on the off season? I mean,
yes and no. I mean, it can be, but also no. Once they get to know you,
people will hire you, and
And I had worked in the restaurant industry, since I was 17, and so
perfect. You were able to do that there.
Yeah, I could do that there, and then eventually, I think one of your questions is eventually I opened up my own restaurants.
Yeah.
So I had 2 restaurants up in Alaska. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, wow. Okay, so. With the restaurant thing, it has to be because it's so customer service oriented, and I know I've heard things. It's just really hard to run restaurants.
Sure.
Even if you love it.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of work. Was it hard to make a decision when you did to leave Alaska because you had found such community there, and then you were coming back? How did you decide to do that?
There was a moment in my life that just was like, I
felt
think,
time.
Yeah, it was time to leave.
Okay.
It was time to leave for the moment and do something different. I had to close down. I had a bakery, and then we had what was called the Smoke Wagon,
that's so cool.
which was Alaskan barbecue. It was really quite fun.
When it's Alaskan barbecue, just mean Alaskan beasts are being barbecued?
No, it just means you're not going to expect Kentucky barbecue or Texas barbecue or Memphis.
And for those that aren't really good at barbecue genres, it would taste amazing and delicious like barbecue.
Yeah, it's going to take us amazing.
I don't even know. I don't know.
Everything I made was from scratch.
Oh my gosh.
I had brought in Louisiana popcorn rice.
The way you say it too sounds legit, Louisiana.
It was one of those where I was like, okay, I just wanted people to not have expectations.
Right.
So that's why
that's kind of great, managing expectations, just being this is Alaskan barbecue.
Right.
It's the best we can do for you. Enjoy.
And then it was great.
Well, that's the thing. And then you're wowing everybody with your barbecue.
Exactly. And then,
you should maybe rename Lido Village Books and just be just a bookstore. The best we can do bookstore. And then people go in and go, wow, this is awesome.
This is amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I like that idea.
Yeah, well, happy to give you some free marketing advice while we're on the podcast.
Yeah.
So you came back, and was coming back buying a bookstore?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because I grew up going to that bookstore.
Yes. The bookstore, Lido Village Books, has been in the Newport community
40
years.
Yeah.
I get mixed stories.
No, I know. So you can't really date it. It's like the women that won't share their age, where you think she's about 80 because you know how old her sisters are, but she'll never tell you.
Right.
So it's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember, because I'm 55, and I grew up going to that bookstore and loving it, and especially just like it always was a special, like a little trip for me to go over there if someone would drive me until I got my car. But so it was so cool that it was getting new energy. Like you bought it.
I did.
In a pandemic, correct?
Negotiations started happening fall of 2019.
Perfect.
And then, so I could not have guessed that a pandemic was going to happen.
And if you could, you wouldn't be sitting here. You'd be like doing something crazy scientific.
Something.
Or a psychic, Miss Cleo, but making a ton of cash on TV. So you started negotiations, you bought it.
Yes. And then escrow went through, I think, March 15th, 2020.
Oh, perfect.
Right? And it was like, they did give me a quick out, like, do you still want this? And I was like, well, I mean, we're literally signing papers.
Like, what are we going to do?
Right. What else am I going to do?
Yeah. I'm owning a bookstore.
Well.
Yeah.
And I looked at it like, it's going to be a great moment to
for people to read.
Well, and to revamp.
Oh,
right?
true.
Because
so you can,
Because then I could come in and be like,
okay,
what's really happening? Let me clean up the inventory or what have you. And
that's a great outlook that you had.
Yeah.
Actually.
I was like, well, okay, and then let's see what we can do. Also, at the beginning of the pandemic, people were like, "It's only going to be 2 weeks." I'm like, "Oh,
okay, well, I remember that time too." I'm like, we're just taking a little vacay at home.
This is a vacation. This is exciting.
We're just going to drink some bleach and we'll be great. It's going to be great.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Okay. So did people read a bunch in the pandemic?
Yes.
Okay. And so would people like come just or call you and say, do you have this, this, and this, or can you order this? And they would pick it up at the curb or something? How did that work?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. So I actually brought back, because I was like, okay, let's pretend, yes, we're in 2020, but let's also, it's a bookstore and it's an indie bookstore. So what else can we do? So I actually started delivering books.
Love
to
it.
people.
Yes.
They would call and they would give me, I'm always very good with like, okay, give me 3 words. What do you want right now? Right?
Are you serious?
3 words.
I can call you and say, give you 3 words. You give me a book?
Yeah.
This is like AI, but better.
Well, but human form.
No, I know.
And I may
I'm
ask,
like saying yes, please.
What did you just read? Did you like it?
Okay.
Why? And then I can also formulate, okay, here's all these books for you,
you're the book whisperer. So you did that for people over the phone.
Over the phone, or they would text us.
Okay.
They would text in, and then I would pull books and shoot them pictures and be like, here's, based on the words that you gave me, here's several books that I recommend for you.
Okay.
And then they would basically say, yes, yeah, I want this one, this one, this one, this one. And I'd be like, great. And then I would call them back, get their, ring it through the POS, put it over the,
right, and deliver, whatever, they come pick it up.
Deliver, or then we would package it up and we'd have it right
inside the door.
Yes,
I remember that. Yeah, you could just, your name was on
knock,
there.
And then I would walk back to the very farthest corner and they would open and grab with their hand.
Yeah. Oh my God, I know, the things we went through.
Or like they would knock on the door and the windows and I would hold up like, this one, this one. And they're like, yes, or no.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And then we would do the transaction, Venmo was still.
Yes,
a lot through Venmo at the time, too.
Perfect. So you just adapted.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so can I still, even though we're not in a pandemic, if I called you and gave you 3 words, you'd still do that for me?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Because the last book you recommended to me was a barn burner, and I loved it. And it's 100%. We were talking about it before the show, but I loved it. Okay.
Should you do a plug real quick?
Yeah, can we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same as It Ever Was by Claire Lombardo.
Yeah, Same as It Ever Was by Claire Lombardo was so great. And it was cool because when I came into Michelle and she was in the store, she gave me caveats about it. Like, do you have to have things be linear? Can it jump back and forth in time? And so I said I was fine with that. And I took it home and I'm like, now I'm telling everyone to read this book because it's such an amazing portrayal, as we were talking about before the show, of both postnatal depression, which is I've never seen it written about so accurately and relatably. And then also midlife and the fact that the writer has neither kids. She's in her late 20s, I think, a very adept writer, like Iowa, where they all come out of Iowa. Not all, but some, most. And then the fact that she could write about midlife so aptly, blew my mind.
Mm-hmm. It was a beautiful story.
Yeah. So anyway, so Michelle will still, not just for me, but for other people, you give through. Okay. So
Can I make
say
an interruption? That's kind of why you come to us, right?
Thank you.
So a lot of the employees, the way like when we do our team meetings, they all have to come with a book, either the book of the month that they just read, because we have a book of the month program for the employees.
And you post a lot of really great ideas with your book of the month or the week or the day or whatever.
Yeah, the book of the day. But internally, we have a free book of the month program for employees.
Oh, cool.
So they always get a free book, and it allows them to expand their horizons and maybe pick up a book that they
normally
wouldn't want to pay for, but that they should be reading or having knowledge of, so they can recommend to so many people. And one of the things we really talk about is like, okay, give me a small synopsis about the book. Did you like it? Did you love it? Give me a synopsis. What are your 3 words to describe the book, right? And then if you liked this, then you'll like that. So we always map a book together.
I love the book mapping piece.
Mm-hmm. And so that way, because there's clients who'll come in and they're like, oh, okay, I really like fast-paced thrillers, but with an edge of romance, right? Okay. Those are 3 words.
That's true. It's more than 3, but it's 3 ideas.
Right.
So I love it. So we were talking about the importance of independent bookstores as one of our topics. And I think you've just hit the nail on the head of one of the points of like what an independent bookstore can deliver to you that not like a chain or an online bookstore cannot, which is that level of like knowledge, passion, and like service, really. Because I do rely on, whether you're there, you might be up in Malibu and I'm working with one of your team. Yeah. They always are so good about asking me like what I've read recently, what I want to read. Because I do go in there kind of like a blank slate. Because I think I can trust like the team at Lido Village Books. I know obviously at Malibu Village Books, it's the same, to like steer me in a direction. Because I do kind of go in there like, help me, like everyone's reading this one, that's fine, but I kind of want to read something different, or this is what I like. And so that's one of the most beautiful things about it is I discover books that I wouldn't even know to look for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say that's what's also super fun, I think, about an independent bookstore is the fact that you can go pretend Costa Mesa had 4 independent bookstores. I can guarantee that you're going to go to each
different
of those
point
4,
of view.
And they're going to all, yes, there'll be some tie over,
right?
But they'll also have their own personality and their own curation, right? It's like when you go into Barnes and Nobles, I feel like
there's not curation. It's what sells well, probably.
Well, but you also know like every Barnes and Nobles is going to have pretty much the same books, right?
Yes.
And so you're like, okay.
It's like McDonald's. I know what I'm getting.
Right. And so if you're like, cool, I want to go in to get what I know what I want, fine. But then we do have individuals who
want to discover
something different or new. And there's so many books being published that don't get the market, right? They don't get the marketing.
Yes.
That because maybe the publisher has said, you know what, this is a fine book, but I'm going to make this one the bestseller.
Okay.
Right? So we have a budget, and in our budget, we get to choose, this is hypothetical.
Right.
In our budget, we get to choose 5 books for this season, and we're going to dump all of our money there. These are also still good. We'll do a little bit, but they don't get the hype that these other ones get, right? And
so how do you
they're still beautiful.
How do you cut through the hype? Like if you're going to do a curation at your store, which you do, like how do you do the balance of like, if I come in and ask for Kristen Hanna's The Women, which, based on real life, I asked for it. But how do you also find me the, like, same as it ever was? Like, so I know I'm going to come into you and find the Kristen Hanna thing, or you can order it from me, as you do so often, which is so nice. But like, how do you find the cut through the hype publisher's 5 picks to the lower 5 to the next 5?
A lot of it is honestly just chatting. And I do a lot of research.
Okay.
So I'm always on the interwebs and looking at different magazines that people are sending me or publishers are sending me, and I'm reading, and I'm because I still am very much involved in both of the bookstores.
Yes.
And you kind of have to be. I do have like beautiful employees who give me a lot of knowledge.
Yes.
Right? Because they're my ears on the floor when I can't
what people
be there.
are asking for. Okay.
And so but when I do come into the store, I very observant on like what are people asking for? What are they wanting? Who is our community, right?
Yes.
And it alters and it changes depending on the season.
So does your bookstore reflect our community?
Yes, they're supposed to.
I'm like a layperson. Like I'd never thought about this.
Yeah, like it's
a reflection of our community.
Yeah. So the idea behind Village Bookstores, which is why it's Lido Village Books
right,
and Malibu Village Books,
yeah.
Because it is very important, and every village should have a bookstore.
So it takes a village to curate a bookstore?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love this idea. I had no idea that this was the way it was.
Yeah, and again, we follow Newport they love the award winners. Like we get clients and customers who come in and they're like, I only read the awards.
Award winners, okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, great.
Yeah, here we go.
They're fantastic, right?
Right.
And then we with the tourists, and in that season when everyone's like, I just want a super
like
fun
a beachy
read, right, or a thriller or what have you. Cool. Well, we bring all those in as well.
Okay.
So the bookstore, I tell employees too, like part-time is the hardest position to work inside this bookstore.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Because our curation, our books evolve 2-3 times a week.
Oh, so they could come in and see a whole different bookstore.
Correct. Like we have.
Like I thought I knew where the Colleen Hoover was that everyone wants, and now I don't know where it is. I mean, I can figure it out, but.
Well, right, or it's moved from this display back into the wall.
Or we've got a whole new
we sold it out
group of books.
Right, we have a whole new group of books coming in.
That's cool. I love that. I love the idea. I mean, I'm glad I don't work part-time for you.
It's literally Christmas 3 times a week.
I would think that would be so rad to open those boxes, because I was thinking, like, my daughter texted me last night. She's like, I walked by the elementary school in my neighborhood in Sonoma. They're having Scholastic Book Fair. Do you think they'll let me in? I'm like, I used to live for the Scholastic Book Fair, or when the Scholastic books would come, when you could order them on a little newsprint piece. And so the bookstore reflects the community.
Yeah.
I have to say it again because I'm like still processing it, how cool that is.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah. I'm glad.
So Malibu Village Books looks different than Lido Village Books inventory perspective. I mean, there's going to be some through lines, right? People want award winners.
Mm-hmm. We always carry the New York Times display, or whatever's hot and popular on the New York Times. But there's going to be, and it's also based on what the booksellers are selling. Yes. Right? What their interests are and what their...
Right. So does it reflect you too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes. There's oftentimes I'll buy a book. I'll bring books in because I'm like, I really want to read this.
Okay, yeah. Because I like what you're reading or what you've recommended. So I want you to tell me what to read too. I don't want to just walk in and like buy it. Like I want to be pushed a little bit. Right. And I can get that there. I feel like if I'm asking for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course you can always still just come in and
ask.
Like, don't talk to me, I'm browsing. Absolutely.
I never say that.
Have fun.
I love to talk to people. But they are very courteous about that. Because my son comes in and doesn't want to talk to people. Yes. And he goes straight to the section which has, I don't know what to call it, but it's all these really cool nonfictions, like The Death of the Mall, like
current affairs, sociopolitical.
Yeah.
Sociopolitical is what we call it.
The current affairs, sociopolitical area. Mm-hmm. It is full of like gems.
Yeah, there's
the
some
thing about like parking and how parking reflects our culture, like that's where I instantly go for Liam's like gifts, because I know he loves everything you pick there. It's like so amazing. And you also have, of course, the beautiful like gifting coffee table books and stuff. Yeah.
And then I always believe Lido's known for its children's section.
I think so. And you do a really good job too, because do you still do the Little Lido or so what is that program for people with kids? Like is it monthly? I'm not in that scene anymore because I'm an empty nester. So what do you do? What do the kids do?
We still offer, we actually offer a lot of programs.
Okay.
So we...
Like I saw writing and stuff too. So tell me a little bit about for the younger audience, what you would like through high school, I guess. Like what do you offer?
Yeah. We offer, Little Lido, which happens the first Thursday of every month. Okay. So we actually have one coming up in like a week.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, next week. And that one is always themed.
Okay.
So it'll have a theme to it, and then we do story time, usually a small learning or educational aspect, or I'll bring somebody in to do some teachings about it. And then we do an art and craft.
Fun. So like all themed.
Yeah. So like one time we did an oceanographer, right?
Yes.
Oceanography. And so we did all these stories for oceanography.
Oh, that's so fun.
There was a person we brought in who was an oceanographer.
Oh, wow, you go the next step. I love it.
Yeah, and she came in and talked to the kids and brought like her scuba gear and all
cool.
the fun stuff that she studies.
Oh, I love it. So
and
that's
then
like
we did an art and craft for
Oh, I love it. So that's first Thursday of every
month. Yeah.
And then I also saw you have things where like you're getting like, is there like a young adult book club or a writers program? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So we have 3 book clubs right now.
Okay.
We have the Breaking Boundaries book club.
Okay.
That meets on the second Thursday of every month. And
Okay.
it's more for adults, anybody who wants to participate. That one is where one person chooses the book for the next month.
Okay.
And then the person who chooses the book for the next month also brings like the snacks and
Oh, I
champagne
love it.
and wine.
Okay.
But it's always going to be something where usually it's a book that you would never have thought to read because it doesn't.
So it's going to push you a little bit.
Yes,
Maybe I need
so
to
it
join
breaks
that
your
because that's kind of,
boundaries.
where I need to be. Okay.
Yeah, and then we have a classics book club.
Okay. Oh, fun.
And that's also for anybody. It meets the Breaking Boundaries and the classics meets at 6:15.
Okay.
On the Thursday, so the second Thursday and the third Thursday. So that's more adult driven as well.
Okay.
And we read classics.
Yes, love it.
Which is fun.
So great.
Right now we're doing Darkness at Noon.
Okay.
Which is by Kostler, who Ray Bradbury did
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit 451. Sort of, he got the idea from after reading this book.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun to be.
that's
and
so
then so we
great.
can talk about that, right? Like where did that stem? Or
Oh,
what
I
did you
love
see?
that. Would I
Yeah.
just go on your website, which we're going to put in the show notes, and I can just look and will I see all these programs that I can be
Yes,
part of?
yeah.
Okay.
And then we do a middle juvenile book club.
Okay.
And
Oh, that's
that
fun.
one's a fun one. That one's geared more for 9 to 13-year-olds.
Okay.
Right now we're doing a lot of the Battle of the Books. So every month
that's
we've been reading
really
the Battle
fun.
of the Books.
Yes.
That one is a fun one. It's a little bit more interactive in the sense that we always learn an aspect of story.
Okay.
So
like
we
crafting a story, you mean? Like
no, like what is within story.
Okay.
Right. So we'll take apart character or setting.
Got it.
Right now we're looking at conflict. So man versus nature, man versus beast,
Yes,
versus
technology maybe.
AI
Yeah,
or
right.
technology. And so in the beginning it begins with sort of a lesson of
Yes.
what we're going to sort of find and see within the new
that's
book we're about to
cool.
read.
Yeah.
I teach them how to annotate.
Oh my
and how
gosh,
to pull out
great.
words, glossary
Okay.
words that they don't know, and how to build a glossary inside
Wow.
their book.
Okay.
So they can go and start.
What great tools.
Yeah, I think so.
That's great.
And then I also give them a project, so they'll
Okay.
do a small fun project. It's like that.
Doesn't feel like homework. It's fun.
No, it's fun.
Okay.
And there's a project. They get the whole month to do the project.
Okay.
And then we start the book together. So we read the first 2 chapters together.
And then they're launched.
And then, they're launched. And then they come back. And when they come back the next month, we go over their projects. So it's
so
not
great.
just like, well, I always ask, did we like it, right? And
Yes.
we'll do some talk about that. And then in the recounting of their project
Yeah.
is when we get into that sort of deeper dive.
That's such great skill
reflection of the
building.
book.
Yeah.
So it's not just like asking questions and you answering them. It's like, okay, let's take a look.
Go deeper.
If we're talking about setting, we did The Eyes in the Impossible, and we were talking about setting. And so the project was out of the book, like take a setting out of the book that you really loved or you felt a connection to and draw it.
Oh, that's so
Right?
cool. What a great assignment.
Right, just draw it. It could be
Yeah.
out of pencil, it could be
Doesn't
watercolor,
matter.
it doesn't matter. You could multimedia it, whatever you want to
Yeah.
do. Just draw the setting. So when they came back, they could talk about why this setting was sort of spoke to them.
Oh, that's great.
Right, and so then we can diverge into or get into that aspect of the
I love
story, and everyone's going to have a different perspective.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
So I'm definitely going to have people check out your website. We're putting the show notes. And then I want to ask you, I think my final question is, we've talked about like the different experience you get in an independent bookstore, like the different level of service and discovery that can happen and the people working there. And also that they reflect our community, which I think is so cool. I'm assuming it's like a real labor of love to run a bookstore. It doesn't, yeah, because it gets romanticized.
Yes.
in movies and TV.
Yes.
But it sounds very challenging. I mean, because you're programming, and not just, I think at Lido Village Books and Malibu Village Books, especially what we just talked about at Lido, the level of programming that you're doing is really next level. I mean, these kids are not just like having fun with books. They're like learning skills. And then you're having an oceanographer. You're not just reading the rainbow fish at the end. Like an oceanographer's coming in, right? Yeah. So what is something that, like, as a member of this community, I can do to support you as an independent bookstore?
Oh, that's always so hard because...
I mean, shop.
Well, yes, shop at the bookstore.
Yeah,
would be great.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, because Can I answer another question?
Yeah, totally. Well, I guess I'm going to prompt you because I'm thinking of ways that I would help you.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, like, I think I can shop with you.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can order books. Like, even if you don't have it in stock, you can get it for me, and I usually get it within a week.
Well, yeah, anywhere from 2 days to a week.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about like out of print titles or something crazy. But also I can share like your social, right, with a friend. Where I can be like, hey, or I can like today, like I don't have kids that are in this 9 to 12, 9 to 13, but I can sure tell friends of mine that have kids of that age that you have these programs, right?
Right.
Or I can share your link and just say, hey, I just like had this, I just saw, I just heard on the Curious Community podcast about the programs that are happening at Lido Village Books, and share a link with somebody so that they could get themselves involved, a kid involved, a friend involved, something like that.
Yeah.
And so I would say, like, to me, the way I think about it is like
showing up.
Yeah. No matter, and like if I need a book or whatever, like I just, like if I'm about to press the Amazon button, I ask myself a question, like, where am I putting my money?
Right.
Right. And so I'd rather put it into the community. And the effort that you're making to build a bookstore around our community that reflects our community, that enriches our community, is really important.
Yeah.
So that's how I think people can support you.
Yeah.
And should.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
We are, right now, I am in the process of trying to build a non-for-profit.
Oh, okay.
Because I do believe that one of the only ways to remain viable in this modern world of extreme expense.
Yes.
Because a bookstore is not just a bookstore, and kind of going back to your romanticization of it. The people look at us as, when they come to a bookstore, yes, they want to hang out and peruse, but they also, we have to be event planners as well, right?
Yes.
We do all these offsite events. We do
the
parties.
OC Book Fair that you did this year in Tustin, that's coming up next November with other in collaboration with publishers and other bookstores. Yeah.
We're trying to get out into education. I'm right now building an education department. A way to help is if you're part of a school and you've gotten a grant. Don't go to Amazon and give that grant money. Go to us. And if you have a list of books that you're like, I want all these books, great. We work with you within that grant money to make sure we can get all those books for you.
Okay.
Or if you're like, hey, these are the books I need. If I still have some money left over, can you help me with some books? Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
We're reading tons of books on a weekly basis.
Yes.
We can help with that as well. But like if you have grant money that needs to be fulfilled, we help fulfill that.
Okay.
You have, right now, I'm getting a lot of words out from the community. A lot of schools are tired, actually, of the scholastics.
Yes. Good. So you could do a better book fair?
We're doing book fairs. We're doing book fairs in
Malibu. This is even
for
better.
Schools. We're doing
Can I come?
Yeah. We're doing in-store book. Like we can be more creative in that realm too.
And you need to be
like
to survive, it sounds like.
Yeah, you can come in. We could do, if you don't want us to come to your school, no problem. We can do a book fair event at the bookstore, right?
Awesome.
So there's all these different ways, but to make us to keep, because we have to, well, not because, we also want to do all these programs. We're trying to do more programming. But it all comes out of the bookstore's pocket.
Yes.
And so right now, to remain viable, to be what the community wants us to be and keep building and growing.
Yes.
I am in the process of trying to build a non-for-profit so we could take donations. So when I bring in, so we have a writing club, right?
Yes.
When we want to bring, but everyone costs money.
Correct.
Right? So if we want to bring in more people or different educators or what have you, that non-for-profit will help fund the programs.
Oh, awesome.
A lot of people are like, I want to come to the middle juvenile, but I don't want to buy a book.
Right.
Okay, I can't give away free books.
No.
Because I'm already giving away a
right.
free
So
program.
can we fund that somehow?
Right. Can the non-for-profit fund that, right?
Okay.
And help say, cool, well, there's some that we can give away for free.
Yes.
Right? So,
okay.
But it's not always coming out. Right now, because a bookstore has to be so much for so many
yes.
people. Right? It's not just a place where we sit there and read books.
No. That's what the romanticization is, right? With my dog and a cup of coffee. So I feel like, how are we going to keep posted on I'll let people know when you know about the nonprofit launch. When is that? We don't know. On the horizon?
Yeah. Right now I'm trying to get all the paperwork. So
okay.
Maybe
so we're going to stay tuned on that.
Who can help with the paperwork.
Yeah. So we'll talk offline.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that we've gone a little bit long, but I had to because I had to ask the backstory. I had to hear about Alaska. And it's not what I thought it was. You weren't just like eating, rabbit that you were trapping overnight.
Although I will say I had a dog who was great at catching. Like she had so much
Too bad they can't bring rabbits on the show alone on the History Channel because they would be way more well-fed. They're not well-fed. They lose a lot of weight.
Oh, you just need a Charlie dog.
Yeah, so Charlie dogs could be added in a future season.
Right.
But I love your bookstore, Michelle.
Thank you.
So Michelle Pierce, Lido Village Books, Malibu Village Books. We'll put all the links in the show notes. And support your local independent bookstore.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I think a lot of people listening, it's ours and it's Lido, so support Lido.
Yeah.
If you live in Malibu, lucky duck, support Malibu Village Books. But thank you for all you do for our community and for building a bookstore that does more than sell books.
Yeah.
That builds community, that reflects the community. I just love it.
It's fun, and it's fun to. It's also a space.
Yes.
Right? So we're also building this space. So when you come into friendly faces and you can chat and hang out.
And it does feel so good. It feels like it feels like connection,
right.
which I love.
And community.
Yeah, which is
it's like the community hub.
Yeah,
which
is so beautiful.
I've been trying to
Thank
build.
you for making that space.
Oh,
yeah,
thank you,
I love it.
Thank you for being a participant of it.
I love it, and I will continue to be. So thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Carrie.
And we'll see you next time.
Yes, I
All
hope
right.
so.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.